And today I am taking part in the Bookternet All Stars charity challenge. So this is a challenge that's been made by Rachel Marie. I'll link her channel down below. She's doing it to raise money for a COVID-19 relief fund. She hasn't decided which relief fund. The way that she's doing it is that everybody who submits a video, one of them will be chosen to have a chance to choose which of a pre-selected list of relief funds the money goes to. Rachel Marie is donating €75 or pounds, I'm not quite sure, IRS perhaps, so up to 75 for every video that gets uploaded. And you can also donate yourself, so I'll pop the link to the page down below as well in case you'd like to donate, and if you'd like to take part, of course, you're more than welcome to. I just thought it would be fun to take part in something with the bookish community and to discuss the kind of popular books and authors that we all really should have read, and whether we've actually read them, and if we have, like, what we think of them. And this is like a list of books and authors and series that everybody goes on about all the time. So it's a bit of fun for a really good cause, so I couldn't resist getting involved. So the first author on the list is Angie Thomas, and I've read and own both of her novels so far. So you've got The Hate You Give and you've got On the Come Up. I gave both of these books 5 stars, read them both last year. If you haven't heard of The Hate You Give, I'll be really, really surprised, because it's a book about police brutality. Star's friend gets shot in front of her because he's reaching for a hairbrush, and the police believe he's reaching for a gun. It's a very, very strong and powerful novel, and I can see why it had as much hype as it did, and I absolutely loved it. On the Come Up is not as serious. It's about a girl who decides that she wants to follow a rap career, and it's the way that she performs and gets into the industry. It's a bit more lighthearted. It still has some quite serious themes as well through it, but this one was a lot more kind of fun than thug, and I absolutely adored both. Angie's third novel is going to be called Concrete Rose, and that's coming out next year, and I already can't wait. I wish it was a 2020 release, because that's one that I'm definitely highly anticipating. So yeah, I'd probably call her one of my favourite authors. The next series on the list is the Shatter Me series by Tahara Mafi. Now, I actually own the first 2 books, but I can only find Unravel Me, so I'm assuming that the first one is still at my parents' house, because I'm still in the process of kind of moving all of our books in, because we have far too many. I know that it follows a girl called Juliet and a guy called Warner, and that's basically it. I think it's a case of her touch kills people, so she's been imprisoned, and I'm guessing she breaks free, and this is the story of her coming to terms with this power, or whether she actually has it or not. I'm still really interested in reading these. I just haven't had a chance to yet. I was trying to get hold of all 3 of them before I did, and I've managed to find the first 2 in charity shops, but I still haven't found the third one anywhere. I don't really like the UK covers, so they've got a really strange font. It's still still like the nice beautiful design, but definitely going to be holding out until I can find a American edition of the third one, and then I'll be getting these ones read. The third author on the list is LEIGH BARDUGO, who writes the Grishaverse novels. As you can see, I've got a little stack of them. I've also got the next lot in here. Got a little stack of LEIGH BARDUGO books. So I've got Wonder Woman Warbringer, which is one of her DC novels. It was a set of 4. I haven't read this one yet. I've got Crooked Kingdom, which is the second book in the Six of Crows series. Again, Six of Crows, probably in my parents' house. Not quite sure. Haven't had a chance to read it yet, mostly because I can't find Six of Crows. And I also own King of Scars, because I got the lovely, gorgeous Waterstones signed hardback of it. I've read the first 3 books in the Grishaverse series. So I've read Shadow and Bone, Siege and Storm, and Ruin and Rising. And I think it's a series that starts off so strong, gets even better, and then just plummets. The second book was 5 stars for me, and I was so excited for the third one, but I hated how it wrapped up. Not a huge fan of the love interest, not a huge fan of the direction that the series went in, and it's kind of made me a bit hesitant to read any more of her writing, because of how much I love the second book and how quickly it all kind of fell apart. I've seen a lot of people say that the Six of Crows duology is better, so I am still going to give it a go. I've also read The Language of Thorns. I borrowed that from the library. It's short stories based in the universe, and that was absolutely stunning. Like, the artwork is beautiful, the writing is beautiful, all of the stories are amazing. I gave it either 4 or 5 stars. And that's definitely one that I want to purchase and then reread over and over, because I think I would never be able to get tired of that collection, because it's kind of based in folklore but it twists it so that it's in her own universe. I think it's just genius. So hopefully I'll read more of Leigh Bardugo's writing in the future, but I'm just not quite sure whether it's the right time for me yet. I'm also very interested in Ninth House, which came out last year. It's her first adult novel, but again, I've heard some very conflicting things about it, and it's meant to be part of like a 9-book series or something like that, which is wacky, because like that is a lot of books to try and commit to, and it's already very, very chunky. But yeah, we'll see how I go as to whether I get around to reading those. The next book mentioned is The Cruel Prince, so the Folk of the Air series by Holly Black. This is another series that for me just absolutely fell apart by the end. I loved The Cruel Prince when I first read it. I gave it 5 stars. Reread it, gave it 4 stars. Wasn't that enthused. Hated The Wicked King. Everybody says this is the best book in the series. I don't know what they were reading, but it just seemed really predictable. It seemed like everything that happened didn't really happen for a reason. Everybody got out of the situations that they were in far too easily, and I just wasn't very impressed by it. And then I read The Queen of Nothing, and it was just such a disappointment. I can't actually remember what I rated The Wicked King or The Queen of Nothing. I've got a feeling that like The Wicked King might have been 3 stars and Queen of Nothing might have been 3 stars, or it might have been like 4 and then 3. But I'm already beginning to think that I might have been a bit too generous based off of how kindly I was still feeling towards The Cruel Prince. I love the character of Carden. I think he is amazing. I love Jude's character. I think she is amazing. I just feel like this book needed to be double the width for it to satisfy me. Everything happens far too quickly. Everything is very rushed. Yeah, it's a shame, because I bought, as you can see, I bought all of the fancy Owl Crate editions. I spent so much money on this series because I was so convinced I was going to love it. The Lost Sisters. It's from Taryn's perspective. I liked that more, but I don't know if it's just because it was the first time I'd read it, because when I read Cruel Prince it was 5 stars, and I do have a feeling that possibly if I'd read these by myself I might have liked them more, but Sean really wasn't a big fan, and I think I wasn't enjoying them because I was reading them out loud, because it was making me realise how kind of bizarrely they were all acting. I'm glad I read it, because if I'd only ever read just the first one, I would have always been thinking that the other 2 were going to be perfect, and they're not. So it's a shame, but like I'm probably going to give Holly Black's writing another chance, because I've read a couple of her books and I've just found them really forgettable. I've got the Type series that I'd like to eventually read. I've got a couple of the Curse Workers books, but definitely not my favourites. So the next on the list is The Bone Witch by Rinch Pico. I haven't read it, I don't own it, and I don't really know anything about it. I'm interested in it because everybody's going on about it for this tag, but I don't know enough to say that I'm definitely gonna read it in the future. The next author on the list is Victoria Schwab. So I've got a little stack of her novels. So I have not yet read Vicious. Vengeful. I think I've got that on my Kindle. We've got City of Ghosts and Tunnel of Bones, which is her middle grade series. We've read both of these, absolutely love them, 5 stars. The third book, Bridge of Souls, got pushed back to next March, and I am heartbroken, because I was like, oh yeah, September, book 3, no longer. So we're going to be rereading these, ready for that, because I've already basically forgot what happened in each of them. I know I love them both, but I can't really remember why. But yes, so we're going to be rereading these. Those are absolutely amazing. If you haven't read them yet because you're not a huge fan of middle grade, just do it, because they're brilliant. So we've got This Savage Song and Our Dark Duet, which is the Monsters of Verity series. Got this one in an Owl Crate, and that's why they don't match. I'm sorry. I hate myself for it. Haven't had a chance to read these yet, but they sound really good. We've got The Dark Vault, which is the first 2 books in the Archived series bound up together. The third book is having some kind of issues with, I think the publisher and the rights and things is a bit of a conflict, so it hasn't been written yet. Read the first book, absolutely loved it. It's about a library where the dead rest on shelves like books, and Cassidy is in the other series. What is her name? Mackenzie. Kind of similar. It's got like a cuh sound. Mackenzie like looks after it, and she's kind of like the guardian of the dead. Really fascinating concept. I read this so many years ago that I can't remember much about it, so I'm definitely going to be reading these with Sean at some point, because he was also a huge fan of Victoria's writing. I've also got the first 2 books in the Dark Shade of Magic series on my Kindle. Haven't had a chance to read it either, but I've got a Dark Shade of Magic on my 25 for 25 list on my blog, which is 25 books I want to read before my next birthday. So we will be beginning that series in the next 12 months. Whether or not we continue with it will remain to be seen. So the next book on the list is the Cinder series by Marissa Meyer. I own all of them. I've only got the first one and the second one. Fourth one here. Haven't read them yet. Looking to read them still. They're like fairy tale retellings. The first one's based on Cinderella. Then there's Red Riding Hood, and there's Rapunzel, and there's Snow White. My friend Anya actually wrote like a whole dissertation on these. She's obsessed with them. She's recommended them to me since the day I met her, and I bought them all because of her, and she actually gave me Winter because she had 2 copies. And I still haven't read any of them. But again, I put this one on my list for 25, 24 and 25, I think. I meant to put it on there. If I didn't, then I made a mistake. But yes, so we should be reading this one very soon as well. The next author on the list is Adam Silvera. So we own a little stack of Adam Silvera's novels. We have read History Is All You Left Me, which is about a boy whose ex-boyfriend drowns, and he comes to terms with losing him by kind of moving on with his ex-boyfriend's new boyfriend, which is a bit of a choice. Loved it at the time. The more I think about it, the less I like it, but I don't know if that's just because time has passed, and it's hard to remember exactly why I loved it. I think there's definitely a lot of good... The way that it's told is brilliant, because it like loops back and forth. Like it throws back in time to when Griffin and Theo are still together, and then it throws back to like after Griffin's lost Theo. And it definitely made me realise why everybody loved Adam Silvera's writing as much as they say they do. We've also read What If It's Us by Adam Silvera and Becky Albertalli. Becky Albertalli, one of my favourite authors. Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda, one of my favourite books. I loved that one. I think they ended up giving it 4 stars, but I absolutely loved it. So many people say they hate it. I don't really know why, because it doesn't really feel like there was much about it that you could hate. But very glad that we read that one. Gonna have to purchase a copy because we've borrowed that from the library. More Happy Than Not is the book of his that I'm most interested in reading next, because I've heard that it's kind of like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, but in book form, and that's one of my favourite films. They Both Die at the End. Have heard amazing things about it. I'm guessing that they both die at the end, so it's going to be a sad one, but this is like based over the course of like 24 hours, as it's like the last day of someone's life, because he knows when he's supposed to die. So yeah, this sounds like it's going to be brilliant. And then there's Infinity Sun, which I got from an Illuma crate. It's signed, and I was so excited about it, and all I've heard is terrible things. This is the first book in Adam's first fantasy series. All of the rest of his novels, as you can tell by the styles, are contemporary. And all I've heard is bad stuff. So I'll read it eventually, but I don't have my hopes high anymore. I'm very much dreading reading it, and I'm not convinced that I'm going to end up enjoying it or reading on with the rest of the series. Maybe the rest of the series will be so amazing that everybody will regret judging the first book so harshly. But yeah, conflicting feelings on Adam Silvera, but some of the most beautiful book covers I've ever seen, so can't fault him on that. Then we have the biggest stack we've had so far, in which I need to move the other books to the floor. I don't think it's going to be in frame. I have to move my other stack of books to the floor to shift this stack of books around. And this is not even all of the books of hers that I own, because half of them are still at my parents' house. So we have got the most awkward way anybody's ever picked up books ever. Cassandra Clare. Now the funny story is, you can see I own all of the Shadowhunters books. Well, I've read 5 of them. I've read the first 5 in the Model Instruments. And that's it. So I've got the Infernal Devices back in Chiselden, and I haven't read them yet. I've got the Fancy Schmancy Waterstones edition of Chain of Gold, and I haven't read it yet. I've got the Fancy Schmancy Waterstones edition of The Red Scrolls of Magic, and I haven't read it yet. And I've got the whole Dark Artifices trilogy in the Fancy Schmancy Waterstones editions, and I have not picked up a single one of them. I mean, like, I've picked them up, obviously, I've picked them up right now, but I haven't read any of them. I enjoyed the first 5 books in the Mortal Instruments series, and I read the 5th one, which is City of Lost Souls, just after it came out, which was a mistake because City of Heavenly Fire kept getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back, and then I couldn't remember what had happened, and I wanted to reread them to read this one, but they were all chunky and I struggled to get through them the first time around because back then it was before I blogged, so I did not read as much as I do now, and I didn't read as quickly, and I didn't read big books, and I just kept putting off rereading them, and then I kept putting off the rest of the Shadowhunters books, and now I'm very far behind and they're all very large. So hopefully eventually I'll catch up, because I'm still hearing good things about it. I mean, I've got the Magnus Bane short stories in my parents' house, and I loved those. I read like half of them. Haven't got Tales of the Shadowhunter Academy, haven't got Ghosts of the Shadow Market yet, but planning on getting those at some point. Yeah, I'm going to keep buying her stuff, and I'm going to keep not reading her stuff forever. I have read the series that she did with Holly Black, the Iron Trial, 5 books. They're awful. Don't read them.
It's the stalactiting, coruscating stalagmite series.
Yeah, so they say stalagmite and stalactite far more than they should. They say coruscating far more than they should. They're awful, and I wish I hadn't read them. And I really shouldn't have given Holly Black another chance after reading those. So God knows why I carried on with the Cruel Prince series after reading those. But yeah, conflicting feelings on Cassandra Clare, and I'll discover how I feel about them at some point in the future. Again, City of Heavenly Fire, I have to finish by my next birthday, so I've got to read at least 6 of these before then, and then hopefully I'll want to read more, but also, like, how big this is. Do I really care enough? Oh. Yes, Sean wants to read City of Bones together, so we're going to be rereading the first one together, but he probably won't want to carry on with me, and then it'll just be me trawling through thousands of pages of Shadowhunters lore by myself. The next book on the list is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Have heard amazing things about it, but I don't own it and I haven't read it yet. So hopefully we will get that soon. Ish's promising to get me it as a late birthday present when the apocalypse is over. I know that this is told in kind of like interview style, and it's talking through Evelyn's life as she's like discussing all of her husbands and trying to like find out who her like true love was out of the 7 husbands that she had. Fascinating concept, heard so many amazing things about it, so hopefully we'll love it as much as everyone else seems to be. The next author on the list is LEIGH Taylor. So I own 2 of LEIGH Taylor's books in physical. I've actually got the rest of the Daughter of Smoke and Bones series on my Kindle. Haven't had a chance to read this one yet, but I found it on eBay really ridiculously cheap considering it's a signed copy, so I thought I'd buy it. The book of Lainey's that I have read... Oh, I've read Lips Touch, which is a short story collection, and that was quite fun. It was linked in with some of her other characters from her other books, so I probably should have read those first, but I didn't realise, and I just wanted to try her writing out, and she's got a very magical style. And Lips Touch convinced me that I would like Strange the Dreamer, which I loved. This was one of the best books that I read in 2018. It's one of my favourite books of all time. I want to reread it, but I'm so scared to. I haven't actually bought Muse of Nightmares yet because I just want to get them in some kind of matching style, and the hardcover of Strange the Dreamer is ridiculously expensive, and I can't find a proof of Muse of Nightmares, so it looks like I'm never going to have matching copies. The paperback version of Strange the Dreamer is disgusting, and I feel so bad saying that, but it's so ugly. So this tells the story of a city called Weep, which is a city that everybody knew about, and then it kind of like disappears from their minds. They forget what it's called, so they all just refer to it as Weep, because when they talk about or think about this city, it just fills them with this inexpressible sadness. And you jump between the character of Laszlo Strange, who is the dreamer, the titular dreamer. He wants to go and find the city because he's obsessed with it, and then you also jump to the people who live in the city still, one of those of which is called Sarai. I love it. I can't express how much I love it. I can't express how scared I am of reading Muse of Nightmares and how I'm totally just using the fact that I can't get matching copies as a complete fluke reason why I can't carry on with the series. I'm sure I'm going to end up loving it and regretting waiting as long as I have. But yes, this is gorgeous, and huge, huge, huge thanks to Hodder for sending me a copy of it, because it's one of the best things I've ever read. And I'm so, so glad that I got the chance to read it. Yeah, hopefully I'll like Laini Taylor's other series as much as I love Strange the Dreamer, but that's the only thing that's kind of making me a bit scared, because when you first read an author and you love a book as much as I love Strange the Dreamer, it's hard to believe that anything will ever live up to that. The next book's series is The Illuminae Files by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. Haven't read them. I own them. We're going to be reading them soon because Sean's put Illuminae on his 25 to read before he's 25, so we've got to read that by September. But they're chunky, they're heavy books. They're multimedia, as you can see. It's like told kind of like ship logs, and like there's some narrative, there's some like wacky stuff going on. Sounds really, really interesting. Heard some great things, heard some okay things about like later in the series. Looking forward to making up my own mind on them, but just haven't had a chance to do that yet. Then we've got the Scythe trilogy by the Arc of the Scythe series, by Neil Schusterman, of which we own 2 copies of the Toll. So, funny story. We decided to read Scythe in October. It was on our October TBR, and then we accidentally read the entire trilogy in October because we found an advanced copy, well, like, not an actual arc, but like an early copy of the Toll in Waterstones, so we went to see our friend down in Cambridge. So we bought it, and then we read it in like 2 days, 3 weeks before it came out, and then we loved it so much that we ordered the Alcrate exclusive hardcover as well. It was wacky. To go from like having never read a book in a series to suddenly loving a series so much that you've got 2 copies of the last one is wild. We need to get hold of copies of the first one. These are all 5 stars. As Sean said, this was the series of the decade for him. I think it's one of the best series I've ever read. It's a world where death has been conquered, so people are kind of working as scythes, so they have to go around and thin the population so that we don't get completely overcrowded, because no one dies naturally anymore, so everybody has to die by a scythe's hand. And Citra and Rowan are both chosen to be apprentices to Scythe Michael Faraday, and we follow them as they go through their scythe training, and then wacky stuff occurs. Someone called Grayson Tolliver comes along, and then he's really cool, and like, honestly, there's so many characters, so much kind of to the world, and I cannot recommend them enough. I wish I'd read them earlier. I want to read them again. So we will probably be rereading these very, very soon. But a lot of people have said that the 3rd book doesn't quite live up to their expectations, because it is a chonker. But I loved it. I thought it was brilliant. It follows every one of the characters. You get really nice resolutions for everybody. The world gets kind of closed off. Like, the stories gets resolved in a really satisfying way. Like, I can't recommend this enough. And I'm so, so glad that we decided to pick up Scythe and then accidentally read the whole trilogy in like a week. Next on the list, with possibly a bigger stack than Cassandra Clare, we have Sarah J. Maas. Now, this is an embarrassing one. So, considering that on this stack we have like all of her books, I don't have Assassin's Blade here because I don't know where I've put it. But I own Assassin's Blade as well, which is 4 short stories. So we've got the entire Throne of Glass series, of which we've read none of them. You can see where this is going, can't you? We've got the entire Court of Thorns and Roses series so far, of which we've read one of them. We've only...
We also have multiple copies of some of those books.
We've also got multiple copies of Wings of Ruin, because Sean had it and then I had it and then we moved in together. I've read A Court of Thorns and Roses. I read an advanced copy on NetGalley. I absolutely loved it. I was intending to carry on with the rest of the series. I pre-ordered the 2nd book, realised how thick it was, and then just gave up completely on reading these. We're going to read them eventually. Sean wants to read them. I want to reread and then continue on with the series, because now I'm less scared of big books. I think I'm going to absolutely love them. But I was really scared of big books at this point, so anything over 350, 400 pages, I was like, no, I'm not doing it. And then they just kept getting bigger, and then a small novella, which is apparently really pointless and shouldn't have been published, so that's good. The, like, smallest book, the only one I would have, like, been drawn to, shouldn't even exist. Then we've got Catwoman Soul Stealer, which I believe I was sent in a Illumicrate box. I might be lying about that. Haven't had a chance to read this one yet. Funnily enough, the two DC books that I own, I haven't read, and I've read the other two. I've read the Superman one by Matthew LaPenna, and I've read Batman by Marie Lu. And I own the other two, and I haven't read them yet, but hopefully we'll take that off eventually. And then we come to the one that we have read. We come to House of Earth and Blood, which is probably my favourite book that we've read this year so far. It's Sarah J. Maas's first adult fantasy. Considering the fact that it's as big as it is an absolute pleasure. Like, you just fly through it. A lot of people had said it was info dumpy. I didn't feel that. A lot of people said you couldn't connect to the characters. I didn't feel that. I fell in love with the entire world. I love Hunt. I just love all of it, really. It's hard to even find the words to express how much I like this. I did not have the tour edition. I was not planning on going to the tour. I found this on eBay and I bidded for it. Bid. We won this for a ridiculously high amount for one book. But it was so worth it because it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous.
We
like,
will probably pay more for books.
Look how gorgeous the end papers are. It's signed. And it's got like a pretty quote on the back. And it's just perfect. And like the first thing I did when I finished it was go on Goodreads and look for the second book, which doesn't have a release date and doesn't have a title. But that was the first thing I did. And I thought I was going to hate this. Astounding. So yeah, Sarah J. Maas. Have read 2 of her books. Have given both of them 5 stars. Don't know why I haven't read more. Will read more. And this is really shaming me into reading more. Hopefully I will. Then we have An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir, in which my friend gave me a proof copy that she finished with, and I have the Goldsboro Fancy finished copy. I haven't read it. I don't know why. Everybody was hyping it up. I ordered it, and then I never read it. And now the 4th book is coming out in like a matter of months, and I'm going to try and read them, but I'm a failure. The next author on the list is Seanan Maguire, of which I've read nothing and own nothing. I've had a lot of people talk about the Every Heart is a Doorway series and saying it's very, very good, but I wasn't really that interested in it. I'm more interested now that I've heard a lot of people raving about how amazing it is, and that it's got like a really good concept, and it like follows different characters in like different places, but it's like still a cohesive series. I'm not completely sure. Seanan Maguire also writes as Mira Grant. I've been interested in a few Mira Grant books, but I haven't read any of them and I don't own any of them. So hopefully I'll get on with that eventually. The penultimate one on the list is The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang, of which I haven't read it. I don't own it. I don't really know much about it. I've got a feeling it's set in China. I've got a feeling it might be historical. I've heard there's like a really bad rape scene, so that's a bit triggery. Try to be careful with that. So if any of you have read The Poppy War and you think it's worth reading, please let me know down in the comments, because I've seen a lot of people say that it's amazing. A lot of people say that they wouldn't recommend it, they couldn't finish it. And the last series on the list is the To All the Boys I've Loved Before series by Jenny Han. I've read the first 2 books. I own the second and third book, but I've never actually finished reading the series. I'd like to reread these and then finish it and then watch the adaptations as well. I've got a feeling I gave the 2 that I did read either 4 or 5 stars. Really, really enjoyed them. Thought the concept was great. It's a girl who writes letters to the boys that she has crushes on, and then they accidentally get sent out. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed reading the first 2. I've got the 3rd one on my 25 list, so I will be getting them reread and finished by this time next year. I haven't had a chance to finish them off quite yet. I'm feeling kind of okay about how this list went. Like, I've read a little bit from most of the authors. I own a little bit from most of the authors. Like, I'm definitely gonna try and read more, because I can see I'm surrounded by books that I haven't read and they're just staring at me. Yeah, like, this was a lot of fun. I thought it would be, and it was. And it's also very shaming, because why do I keep buying all these books and I'm not reading any of them? Oh god. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you'd like to take part in the Bookternet All Stars charity challenge, please do. If you have posted your own video, like leave it down below, like link me in the comments and I'll come and watch them. We've been slowly but surely watching all the ones that get uploaded to the tag, because I find it really interesting. Like, it's just a really fun way to bring the entire book community together. Again, like, links down below for Rachel's channel and for, like, the donation page if you're interested in donating rather than filming your own video. And yeah, we will see you soon with a new video. Please don't judge me too harshly for the amount of things that I haven't read yet. Yeah, thank you for watching. Like, if you'd like to, do me a subscribe, comments and things. We'll see you soon. Bye.